For centuries, one question has intrigued both historians and believers. If Jesus could write, why didn't he? But what if he actually did, and we simply missed it? In this video, we explore the story of a forgotten royal letter hidden deep within the archives of Edessa, a city later reshaped by Constantine. Before Constantine came to power, nearly 300 years after the crucifixion, Christianity was a persecuted and underground movement. But with the rise of artificial intelligence, we're now able to revisit the ancient past in ways once thought impossible. As ancient texts collide with modern technology, our understanding of Jesus and early Christianity is being radically challenged. The healing miracles of Jesus, especially those recorded in the Gospel of Luke, remain a key part of that story. Recently, historians were stunned when AI was used to analyze a long-lost letter believed to be from Jesus himself. This letter, said to have been discovered in the early 4th century, was buried in the archives of Edessa. It was first documented by Eusebius of Caesarea, a historian who dedicated himself to chronicling the dramatic rise of Christianity, from a persecuted sect to a recognized faith within the Roman Empire. Eusebius's ecclesiastical history stands as one of the earliest and most complete records of Christianity's formative years. But within its pages lies a startling claim. Eusebius recounts discovering a letter in the Edessan archives, a letter allegedly written by Jesus Christ. Edessa, located on the northern edge of ancient Mesopotamia, modern-day Şanlıurfa in southeastern Turkey, was no ordinary city. It served as a cultural and political crossroads where Roman, Persian, and local traditions merged. Within the royal archives of this remarkable city, Eusebius found a document unlike any other. It was a sealed letter addressed to the city's ruler, and according to his account, it was written by Jesus himself. This claim is extraordinary, especially since no other writings by Jesus are known to exist. The letter was said to be a response to an earlier message from King Abgar V of Edessa. Though this correspondence has been briefly mentioned in later texts, it largely faded into obscurity. The original letter has long since vanished, and all that remains is Eusebius's transcription. For centuries, scholars viewed this letter as apocryphal, a legendary tale rather than a historical fact. But if authentic, it could be the only surviving example of direct written communication from Jesus, challenging the long-held belief that he never wrote anything himself. Despite lingering skepticism, this ancient exchange opens a fascinating window into how early Christianity may have extended beyond Judea into the broader world of ancient empires. Today, with the help of modern archaeological tools, linguistic analysis, and cutting-edge manuscript technology, scholars are once again examining this story, one that was for centuries dismissed and nearly forgotten. King Abgar V, also known as Abgar the Black, possibly due to his dark complexion or solemn demeanor, ruled Edessa around the beginning of the 1st century CE, with his reign starting around 9 AD. This was a time of great political unrest, as the Roman Empire pushed its influence eastward while the Parthian Empire sought to hold its ground. Edessa, situated on the Silk Road, was a bustling hub of trade, culture, and intellectual exchange. Despite his power, King Abgar carried a personal burden. He suffered from a chronic illness that no treatment could cure. Historical records suggest that King Abgar may have suffered from a condition such as gout, a chronic skin disease like leprosy, or another debilitating illness that left him weak and desperate. Despite the efforts of his court physicians, nothing brought relief, and his health continued to decline. It was during this time of vulnerability that news reached him from nearby Judea. Stories of a man named Jesus who was said to perform miraculous healings. The reports were astonishing. The blind were regaining their sight, the paralyzed were walking, and lepers were being cured. These weren't just rumors. They came from traders and travelers who had witnessed these events themselves. For a suffering king like Abgar, these stories offered a glimmer of hope amidst his worsening condition. Moved by faith, and perhaps a touch of political insight, Abgar decided to write a letter to Jesus. It wasn't just a request for healing, it was a profound acknowledgement of who he believed Jesus to be. In the letter he wrote, "When I heard all these things about you, I believed that you must be either God himself who has come down from heaven, or the Son of God doing such wonders. Therefore, I write to ask you to come to me and heal my illness. I have a city, small but noble, and it is enough for both of us." These words carry immense significance. Here was a pagan king, moved not by conquest or politics, but by the accounts of a Jewish preacher's miracles. In one simple but powerful statement, Abgar expresses a belief that Jesus was divine, either God in the flesh or his Son. This anticipates core ideas of Christian theology long before they were formally established. More than a plea for healing, the letter is also an invitation. Abgar offers Jesus refuge, a safe place to live in his city. This act of generosity and recognition is the earliest known official gesture by a non-Jewish ruler toward the emerging Christian faith. It was both a diplomatic and spiritual appeal, an open-hearted welcome to someone who had captivated the ancient world with his teachings and deeds. Though the original letter hasn't survived, the exchange was recorded by the church historian Eusebius of Caesarea, offering a rare glimpse into one of the earliest documented interactions between Jesus and a foreign ruler. It challenges traditional narratives about Jesus' ministry and expands our understanding of how early Christianity began to ripple beyond the borders of Judea. To the modern mind, the idea that Jesus would personally respond to a letter from a distant king might seem unlikely. Yet, according to Eusebius, this is exactly what happened. In his ecclesiastical history, written in the early 4th century, he recounts finding this extraordinary correspondence within the archives of Edessa, letters exchanged between Jesus and King Abgar IV, ruler of a small but strategically important kingdom at the edge of the Roman and Persian empires. The letter attributed to Jesus stands out from all other ancient texts. It was said to have been written by Jesus himself, carrying immense spiritual and historical significance. His reply reads, "Blessed are you who have believed in me without having seen me. For it is written of me that those who have seen me will not believe, and those who have not seen me will believe and be saved. As for your request for me to come to you, I must fulfill all that I was sent to do here. After I have completed my mission, I will return to the one who sent me. But after I am taken up, I will send one of my disciples to you. He will heal your illness and bring life to you and your people." These words echo deeply through early Christian thought. Jesus honors Abgar's faith, recognizing the king's belief despite never having seen him, a central theme in the New Testament. The blessing he offers shows that true faith doesn't rely on physical proof, but on spiritual conviction. His response is both prophetic and compassionate, revealing a mission beyond borders and a promise that help and healing would come, even if not by his own hand. This ancient letter exchange, whether symbolic, legendary, or authentic, remains one of the most intriguing and profound stories from the early days of Christianity. It reminds us how faith, hope, and belief can bridge even the greatest distances. This theme of belief without seeing echoes powerfully in the Gospel of John and throughout later Christian teachings. The language of the letter, though brief, carries the recognizable voice of Jesus as portrayed in early Christian tradition, marked by clarity of mission, obedience to a divine calling, and the promise of fulfillment yet to come. One of the most striking parts of the letter is Jesus' refusal to travel to Edessa himself. But this wasn't a dismissal or rejection. It was rooted in purpose. His mission in Judea was not yet complete, and fulfilling that divine task took precedence. However, hidden within that refusal was a profound promise. Once his earthly work was done, he would send one of his disciples to heal King Abgar and bring spiritual life to his people. Though short, this letter is believed to be the only surviving written communication attributed directly to Jesus. If we take Eusebius' account as authentic, it offers a glimpse into a rarely seen side of Jesus, one that steps outside the familiar gospel narratives and oral traditions. It shows Jesus in personal correspondence, extending his mission across borders and political boundaries through the power of the written word. This letter has fascinated historians and theologians for generations. Nothing quite like it exists in Christian history, an extraordinary bridge between a distant Eastern kingdom and the very heart of Christian origins. And the promise it held did not go unfulfilled. According to Christian tradition, supported by Eusebius and later Syriac sources, the promise was kept after Jesus' crucifixion, resurrection, and ascension. Jesus did not go to King Abgar himself, but he sent a trusted disciple in his place. That disciple was Thaddeus, also known by the Syriac name Addai, one of the 70 sent out by Jesus as recorded in the Gospel of Luke. Thaddeus' journey to Edessa was far more than a diplomatic mission. It was a moment of transformation. He arrived bearing not just words, but what many believe to be the living power of the risen Christ. The accounts tell us that he healed King Abgar completely, curing him of the illness that had once left him hopeless. That miraculous healing marked the beginning of a spiritual revolution in the city. King Abgar's conversion to Christianity was immediate and heartfelt. His personal transformation quickly spread through the royal court and into the wider population, laying the foundations for what is considered the first Christian kingdom outside of the Jewish homeland. Edessa was forever changed. Churches began to appear across the city, where Syriac-speaking Christians gathered to worship, study, and share the teachings of Jesus. His message was translated into Syriac, an Aramaic dialect spoken by the local people, which allowed Christianity to take root in a distinctively Eastern form. This marked a pivotal moment in the spread of Christianity, a faith born in Judea, now flourishing at a cultural and spiritual crossroads of the ancient world. What's truly remarkable is that this transformation wasn't the result of military conquest or sweeping public sermons by famous apostles. It began with a letter, a few written words said to carry divine authority. That simple act of correspondence ignited a chain of events that changed the course of Christian history in the East for generations to come. The implications are profound. A personal letter from Jesus, a disciple sent in his place, and a king whose faith helped open the door for Christianity's earliest expansion. Preserved in ancient tradition, this story stands as a powerful reminder of how written words, especially those filled with conviction and hope, can spark lasting transformation. And the story doesn't end there. According to later Christian tradition, the messenger Thaddeus didn't arrive in Edessa empty-handed. Alongside the letter, he brought with him a miraculous relic, a cloth said to bear the image of Jesus' face, an imprint not made by human hands. This artifact, mysterious and sacred, would inspire awe and wonder among believers and skeptics alike for centuries to come. This cloth, often referred to as the image of Edessa, or the Mandylion, is said to have originated from a miraculous event. According to tradition, in a moment of divine grace, Jesus pressed a towel or linen cloth to his face, without the use of paint, brush, or human hand. Miraculously, his image was transferred onto the fabric, capturing a perfect likeness, unlike any painting or artistic rendering ever created. This wasn't just an ordinary image. Believers viewed it as a sacred imprint, an exact representation of Jesus, not as imagined by an artist, but as he truly was. It's often linked with the cloth said to have been used during Jesus' burial, making it even more significant in Christian tradition. And now, new research is shedding light on just how extraordinary this relic may be. The Mandylion wasn't seen as just a portrait. It radiated spiritual power. Within the early Eastern Church, it quickly became an object of deep veneration. People believed it could heal, protect, and inspire. Stories spread of miraculous recoveries and spiritual peace for those who simply touched or gazed upon it. It became a powerful symbol, a bridge between heaven and earth, offering a physical connection to the divine in a time long before religious images were widespread. Still, the authenticity of the Mandylion has sparked ongoing debate. Some scholars argue it may genuinely date back to Jesus' time, while others believe it was a later creation intended to deepen devotion among early Christians. Regardless of its true origins, the idea of an image not made by human hands left a lasting impact. It inspired Christian art for centuries, influencing relics like the Shroud of Turin and other artifacts that claimed a direct connection to Christ. What makes this story so compelling is the way it marks a shift. From faith rooted purely in word, tradition, and scripture, to a faith intertwined with physical objects. Until this point, belief in Jesus was largely based on oral teachings and theological reflection. But the Mandylion offered something different, a sacred artifact that believers could see and touch, a tangible trace of Christ in the material world. For many modern historians and theologians, this feels like a turning point, when faith began to intersect visibly with history and culture. It's as though the ancient story of a king's letter carried not just a message, but a living thread of connection spanning across time. And then, enter the modern era. In the 21st century, ancient history and cutting-edge technology began to meet in ways no one could have imagined. A team of scholars from Hebrew University and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology launched a groundbreaking project in digital archaeology. Their goal: to bring new understanding to ancient texts by using the power of artificial intelligence. It was an ambitious and daring mission. The team fed obscure, fragmented, and often overlooked ancient writings into a specialized AI system trained in early languages like Aramaic, Koine Greek, and Biblical Hebrew. Among the texts analyzed was Eusebius's transcription of the mysterious letter supposedly written by Jesus to King Abgar of Edessa. At first, the expectations were cautious. Scholars hoped the AI might verify known linguistic patterns or help spot any textual inconsistencies. But what the system uncovered surprised everyone. Through advanced language processing and deep pattern recognition, the AI detected complex poetic and structural features hidden within the letter, elements that had gone unnoticed by human scholars for centuries. These patterns matched the style of ancient Aramaic wisdom literature, which was known for its spiritual sayings, moral teachings, and rhythmic phrasing. What made this revelation especially striking was how closely the letter's linguistic style mirrored Jesus' known teachings, particularly the Beatitudes and the parables found in the Gospels. The phrasing, structure, and spiritual tone echoed the very voice attributed to Jesus in Scripture, giving new weight to the possibility that this letter could be more than a legend. The AI analysis brought a level of clarity and precision to the letter's language that was previously unseen. It revealed a text deeply embedded in the cultural and spiritual context of first-century Judea. But the machine's insight didn't stop at stylistic features. Going further, the AI performed a comprehensive comparison, cross-referencing the vocabulary and syntax with an extensive database of known interpolations, later edits, and historical forgeries. The results were remarkable. The system found no signs of doctrinal manipulation or editorial tampering, none of the hallmarks that would suggest a fabricated origin. Instead, the letter's language statistically matched authentic early Christian discourse in a way that had never been documented before. This digital breakthrough sent ripples through academic communities. For centuries, many dismissed the letter as a well-meaning myth, a devout but fictional tale lacking historical support. Now, thanks to artificial intelligence, scholars were given a new lens, one that not only added credibility, but also uncovered layers of nuance previously hidden. It suggested that this letter might genuinely be a relic of early Christian faith, perhaps even a direct message from Jesus himself, preserved through time and illuminated anew by cutting-edge technology. For both believers and skeptics, this convergence of ancient faith and modern machine learning sparked a powerful moment of reflection. It felt as though Jesus' voice had crossed 2,000 years, not only through scripture and oral tradition, but now through an ancient letter, decoded by tools unimaginable to the early Christians. This was more than a discovery. It was a testament to how history, faith, and technology can come together to reshape our understanding of the sacred. What AI uncovered wasn't found in dusty scrolls or parchment fragments alone. It came through the quiet, tireless work of deep learning. The AI didn't just confirm that the letter's language was consistent with early first-century texts. It went deeper, uncovering layers of subtlety and literary technique buried in the letter's simple structure. One of the most astonishing findings was the discovery of a hidden chiasm, a literary structure built on inverted parallelism, where ideas are mirrored for emphasis and memory. This was no decorative flourish. Chiasmus is a signature feature of ancient Hebrew teaching, commonly used by prophets and spiritual leaders. It served as a powerful memory tool, as well as a method for conveying deep theological truths through oral tradition. The presence of such a carefully structured pattern suggested that the letter came from someone well-versed in this ancient rhetorical style, possibly even Jesus himself, or someone from his immediate circle. The language wasn't just meaningful, it was intentionally designed to be remembered, recited, and passed on. And the discoveries didn't end there. Further semantic analysis uncovered subtle thematic echoes of the Q source, a theoretical collection of Jesus' sayings believed to predate the 4 canonical Gospels. While the letter didn't quote Q directly, the AI found distinct linguistic and conceptual parallels. These were not random similarities. They pointed to the possibility that the letter originated from an early oral tradition, one that preserved Jesus' voice in a form we had never clearly recognized before. One expert, reflecting on the AI's findings, remarked, "This is something we've never seen this deeply embedded in extra-canonical writings. The structure itself is a fingerprint, a marker of authenticity that cuts through centuries of doubt surrounding apocryphal texts." This phrase captured the weight of the discovery. The letter was not a forgery or later invention. It was a deliberate, thoughtfully crafted piece of writing that bore the hallmarks of ancient prophetic tradition. Hidden in plain sight for centuries, it had waited for the right tools and the right questions to finally reveal its secrets. Emboldened by the AI's revelations, historians and scholars returned to their archives with renewed purpose. They began re-examining old manuscripts and neglected texts, searching for overlooked clues with fresh eyes. Their search led to an extraordinary discovery deep in the archives of the British Museum. A Syriac codex, catalogued in the 19th century, largely ignored ever since. It had never been fully translated or studied in modern times. Yet there it was, another potential piece of the puzzle, in a story that was rapidly evolving from legend into something far more historically grounded and spiritually profound. Within the delicate pages of the manuscript lay a remarkable discovery. A version of Jesus' letter to King Abgar, written in an even older dialect than the Greek version recorded by Eusebius. Although the Syriac version differed slightly in wording, its structure and central message remained strikingly consistent with the better-known account. This wasn't just a copy or a later reinterpretation. It stood as an independent witness to the same exchange, preserved across different languages and cultures. The very existence of multiple versions, each aligned with ancient literary norms and first-century stylistic features, challenged long-held academic assumptions. For generations, the letter had been dismissed as a pious legend or a fabricated tale. But now, scholars were faced with compelling evidence that suggested otherwise. The discovery sent shockwaves through theological and historical communities worldwide. For the first time, respected academics were seriously asking a question once relegated to the fringes. Did Jesus actually write this letter? Could this be a real piece of his historical legacy, preserved in various ancient archives and stamped with the linguistic and literary hallmarks of his time? As the manuscripts underwent further study, the implications only grew more profound. This wasn't just another apocryphal story, it was something far more significant. It was a powerful historical artifact that bridged the realms of faith, history, and literary tradition. Its survival in distinct forms, its carefully crafted structure, and its deep resonance with early Christian oral traditions pointed to a possible direct connection with Jesus himself, the very figure at the heart of Christian belief. This discovery marked a rare convergence between faith and scholarship. It challenged entrenched assumptions and opened new pathways for understanding Jesus' words in a tangible historical context, words that had remained hidden in plain sight for centuries. A shock to faith. When news broke of the letter's AI-assisted validation, churches around the world were thrust into a moment of unprecedented reflection. Reactions varied widely. Some theologians and scholars, long engaged in debates about the role of historical evidence in religious belief, welcomed the discovery with cautious reverence. To them, this was not just a document, it was a long-lost treasure, a bridge between the ancient and modern worlds. This isn't just a relic, one senior biblical scholar noted. It's a revelation. If genuine, this letter changes everything we believed about how Jesus' message was transmitted. It's clear evidence that he communicated not only by word of mouth, but also in writing. For many, this letter affirmed what they had long suspected, that Jesus' mission was never limited to Judea, but meant for all nations. And this letter, addressed to a foreign king, stood as powerful testament to that. But not everyone was ready to embrace it. Some conservative voices within the church raised serious concerns. They argued that giving weight to a document outside the accepted canon could threaten the stability of centuries of theological tradition. For them, the letter was more than controversial. It was potentially divisive. "We must remain vigilant," warned one leading theologian. Elevating non-canonical texts risks unraveling the consistency of doctrine that has guided millions for generations. The fear was that embracing this letter could open the door to doctrinal confusion, turning faith into a fragmented mosaic rather than the unified message it has strived to be. And yet, amid the debates, one undeniable truth emerged. This was a moment of extraordinary convergence. The ancient cry of a desperate king. The compassionate response of a healer. And now, the analytical power of artificial intelligence revealing layers of meaning buried for millennia. As one expert put it, "We've never seen anything like this. A meeting point where scripture, history, and technology come together in a way that simply can't be ignored." Around the globe, people were moved in powerful ways. Some were overcome with emotion, weeping at the thought that a long-dismissed legend might actually be real. Others felt unsettled, wrestling with how this revelation fit into their established beliefs. But above all, the discovery sparked something deeper, a collective reawakening. People began asking hard questions, revisiting old assumptions, and exploring faith in a new light. Families held long conversations. Churches convened urgent gatherings. Scholars launched entirely new lines of research. The shock wasn't just about a letter. It was about rediscovering the very essence of belief, challenged, renewed, and transformed. And one question hung in the air. If Jesus truly wrote this letter, what else might still be hidden, tucked away in forgotten corners of history, waiting to be rediscovered? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.